Free TV, in association with GetOutOfDebtFree.org.
Hi Santos, thanks for joining us today. Sorry, we had a couple of technical difficulties a little bit earlier, but we've got you now, and it looks like you're coming on strong. So sorry about that. So yeah, for those of you who don't know you, you do some sort of very interesting, and this is an area of work that I'm particularly interested in, is astrotheology. It's and we're thinking, well, what's the stars and astrotheology got to do with what we're here today? Well, that's what we're here to find out today. So anyway, welcome to Debt Free TV, and really just to sort of start off with, Santos, can you tell us? I mean, first of all, you're known as Mr. Astrotheology on your YouTube channel. How did you get that name?
Yeah, well, a friend of mine, he was actually my hairdresser. He
Right.
was good with computers, and he offered to set up a YouTube site for me way back in the day when I started the site. So, he just chose it, Mr. Astrotheology. And
Right.
when he told me the login details and the name of my new YouTube site, I was sort of, I was a little bit it was intriguing.
Yeah.
But I stuck with the name, and it's easy to recognise. So it's easy to tell people, oh, my YouTube handle is Mr. Astrotheology. So it's easy to remember. So I stuck with it.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, Santos, a lot of people watching, they're going to be wondering, what has astrotheology got to do with, getting out of debt, or, fighting for freedom against our, oppressive governments and banks, and how does it all connect? I know that's a very, that's quite a wide question, isn't it? But
Yeah, but
what are the links between the governments that we've got that keep us enslaved and astrotheology?
well, once upon a time, as I explain in my videos, there was a unified, cohesive thought system based on science, based on consciousness and enlightenment.
Yeah,
Whereby, and the Egyptians were good at this, and
Yeah.
many other cultures, but in particular the Egyptians, they loved the science of light, and they
Yes.
actually called it Christianity. Christianity originated in Egypt thousands and thousands of eons ago,
right. Yeah.
and there's proof. There's proof of that.
Yeah.
I've offered a lot of evidence
Oh,
of
yeah.
that in my videos.
I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of your videos, so yeah.
Yeah, and when Rome came along, or when empire, the idea, the concept of empire, and which originated actually in Egypt in the Darker Ages,
Yeah.
and Babylon and Medo-Persia, Greece, and then Rome, the idea for the controlling elites of these empires was to pervert that science, corrupt it,
Yeah.
turn it upside down on its head,
Yeah.
and teach a false version of it.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they created a literal story out of those Gospels.
Right.
Now, the Gospels are not intended to be read literally. They are metaphors, allegories. They are, the Bible is a manual for physiological regeneration.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you apply the science therein, you can live happier, healthier. You can live more in a more dignified manner.
Yeah.
It's beautiful science, and I've explained this, and in particular in my new video called "Your Body is the Holy Land."
Yes.
Now, the language in the Bible is so beautiful, but it appears to be literal. Therefore, the exoteric church of Christianity, which is literal, as opposed to the esoteric Gnostic Christian church, which was the original,
Yeah. Yeah.
this one came along with the Dark Ages and with the loss of consciousness and with the loss of remembering the true science.
Yeah.
And so what Rome did was, because this was easy to let's say, spread about in their empire, they taught the masses that Jesus was a literal saviour.
Yeah.
Whereas the Gospels are talking about Jesus Christ being the beautiful oil that goes up and down the spine, and which comes from the cerebrum,
Right.
and then and then it goes down to the sacrum, right down the bottom of the spinal cord, and then it's supposed to be raised by good practices, good breathing, and good meditation, etc. And then once it returns to the top of the spinal cord, that oil, that fluid is called Christos.
Yeah.
And when it hits the optic thalamus, what happens is all the dormant brain cells are reignited.
Yeah.
But the only way to ascend that Christ, to raise the soul to the light, is by good works. And then all the dormant brain cells, which we all have, are reactivated, and one becomes christened or christened, which means enlightened.
Yes. Yes.
And this is the science that Rome has thrown away, and given an alternative antichrist system, which actually persecutes true Christianity.
Yes. Yes. So where we're effectively like born into sin, and almost like our sovereignty is taken away.
Yeah, this is why astrotheology is so important, because it teaches you to know who you are and that you are the temple of the living Creator. The scriptures themselves say, what? Do you not know that you are the temple of God? Your body is the temple of God.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ himself said, the kingdom of God is within.
Yes. Yeah.
Alchemists know that the elixir of life, the Holy Grail, the alchemical process of transmutation is within. There's nothing outside there's nothing that you can drink, a snake oil potion or anything that any alchemist can make that can do the work that your body can do.
No, it's fascinating. And there's a guy over here called the Barefoot Doctor, and he does some wonderful Taoist stuff, and he says your body is a temple, but it's also a nightclub. Yeah.
Yes.
Which I've always liked. Yeah, a bit of balance. But it's fascinating, because I've actually started looking at the 2012 Olympics over here, because the whole all the imagery is just screaming at you. It's actually quite remarkable. It's not sure. It's right there in your face, and I've been trying to sort of work out. What's it all about? Everything from the torch ceremony, all this. I mean, it really is quite remarkable. And I've started. It's also sort of, you realise that the 2000, somebody running around in the background there. You also realise the 2012. You've seen the sign where it can be changed into Zion, which is the the new city of Jerusalem. Well, so is the new city of Jerusalem? Is that a temple? Is it a physical temple, or does it relate to our body?
It's a consciousness temple.
Yeah.
It's actually a consciousness temple. The New Jerusalem above, that's you see, in the brain, in the cerebrum, the most inner part of the cerebrum, which is the two hemispheres of the brain. The cerebellum is in the back here.
Right.
And the cerebrum covers over the cerebellum and the midbrain.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, that's called the cherubim. You see, the Ark of the Covenant was covered by the cherubim. That's the cerebrum. You see, the two wings of the cerebrum.
Yeah.
Now, the fluid that goes down the spine is in the middle of the cerebrum. It's the pia mater.
Yeah.
Pia mater. There's two parts of the brain. There's the dura mater and the pia mater. Mm-hmm. The pia mater means the Holy Mother, the soft mother.
Right.
The Virgin Mother. And the Apostle Paul in Galatians chapter 4 says specifically that the Jerusalem above is Sarah, our mother, and she is above. Hagar is the solar plexus below, you see. Yeah. So when we return the oil up to the optic thalamus and reignite those dormant brain cells, that then returns back to the Pia Mater. The Pia Mater now has become alive. That's the Jerusalem above. So it has reference to consciousness.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm fascinated by this. And you say it goes back to ancient Rome, because we know in this country that the Romans invaded, and apparently this is how history will have it, is that, Britain, or Albion as it was originally, basically we're a whole load of Neolithic Stone Age people. We couldn't build roads. We had very little sort of understanding. We went to the top of hills and broke flints and things like that. And then suddenly the Romans came along and saved us, And I've always been a little bit sceptical of this, because I feel we had a fairly advanced society. What's your view on that, Santos?
Oh yeah, man! You had the best druidic system. You had a great priest craft that really cared for their people. You had science. Julius Caesar just came there to steal that off you and to snuff it out. And
right.
Yeah, and that's where the word Jew comes from. Michael Tsarian has done some great work in his research, and he's brought out how. Yeah, Jew comes from you, and the Druids were the Jews. Jews just a class. It's not a race. Hopefully, we will all become Jews. If we're all Jews, the world would be a great place.
Yes.
So the Romans came to conquer, and it's a corporation basically. Empire is a corporation. It's a fictional construct. It's a corporation comes from corpse. It's a dead empire thing.
Yeah. So what are those people say? But the Romans have left. So how can they still be in control? So I know the answer, but I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Well, they definitely set up a corporation there called London, the square mile or whatever it is. That is their corporation. They control it. And whether people think that the Commonwealth and the Crown are actually British Empire concepts or entities or institutions or whatever, they're wrong. They go back to 14th, 15th century Sestui trusts from Rome.
Yes. Now it's funny because I've been looking at the City of London, because I sort of I sometimes just feel I have to look into something. I think it's an intuitive sort of feeling that I've got to look into something. And what I was looking at was the Fire of London, and there's a lot of suspicious things around the Fire of London, and it was very interesting that the Fire of London was in 1666. I mean, that's lovely because we've got the 3 6s there as well. And then, of course, after the Fire of London, they brought in, it was still smoking, and they brought in the Sesta KV Trust. And that is remarkable. And I think that goes a long way to the problem we're in at the moment. Because I'm sort of talking about, what I do, I talk about the whole financial system, and I have to keep things really simple because that's the way my brain works. I like things really, really simple. And so I try and explain to people how the banking system works with a game of Monopoly. And that in a game of Monopoly, you have to have a token. And that token's effectively your name. And I believe that is connected to us through this having a title, Mr., Mrs., Miss, whatever. Have you got anything to say on that? Am I going down the right path here?
Oh yeah. Well, this is how the whole fiction works. Rome gives you a citizenship, and you think that's a great thing, all these privileges and benefits and services. But you don't have your rights. You sell your rights when you believe in that ownership of this title, Mr. Bonacci. It's all a fiction, and that's why folks who understand when they go to court that if you go in belligerently and wanting to defend that name and stand up for that name that's on that all caps name, the moment the magistrate sees you do that, he knows that you're creating a controversy, and he can just do whatever he wants, because
Right.
because they know that nobody owns that name. You don't, they don't, nobody owns it. They're just presuming that they're just going to get away with looking like they
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
And and so you go in there and you think, oh no, I own it more than you do. You own it a little bit. I own it more. I'm the chief CEO. I'm the president of that corporation.
Yeah.
I'm the beneficiary and grantor and all these things that you want to be. The
Yeah.
moment they see that, they're thinking, well, this guy's an idiot. How can you
Yeah.
own a bit of paper? And they're gonna throw your ass into prison.
Yeah, yeah. It is crazy because somebody coming into this for the first time, they'll be thinking, that can't possibly be. But when you join up all the dots, it's actually fairly obvious, isn't it? How does maritime law, because people talk about maritime law and maritime courts, how does that tie into all this?
Well, you got to wonder why we need law of the seas when there's natural law, there's common law, which basically requires that we do not injure or harm our brothers, or commit any fraud. Anything over above that is how can I put it? It's fictional. It's yeah. But how can you commit a crime by let's say that the policeman pulls you up for doing 5 miles over the limit or something like that. Where is the hurt? Where is the injury, etc.? There's so many thousands and thousands of acts and legislation and what have you. These all come under commercial maritime law.
Right.
Now, see, when the conquest happened, when imperialism happened, the Europeans all of a sudden decided they were better than everybody else, and they thought, well, there's some nice fair land over the Atlantic. Let's go and grab that off the indigenous people, plant our maritime flags on those lands. When Captain Cook came to this land, Australia, he planted the maritime British flag. Because why? Well, because he came here to do business. He came to bring a British corporation to do business here. Because if he had to come, well, how can he bring England's common law over? He'd have to bring the country over in a boat. So since he and his admirals and maritime folk hopped in a boat, went over the waters, all they could bring would be maritime law. So Australians that go to court here saying we demand constitutional common law and everything like that was never brought over here.
No.
It's always been commercial law because we're all squatting on this land doing businesses and we all came over in boats. That's maritime.
Yeah. As we are when we're born, aren't we? Going back to Jordan Maxwell's work, being birthed. I thought that was beautiful, and all the analogies there. But so amazing. So something about I know you're in a wonderful and you're living in a very, very spiritual land, Australia, which has got myths and legends going back such a long way, and I think the indigenous people there probably got a lot of the answers to the problems we're having today. But it's interesting that one thing, I'm fascinated by the money because if you follow the money, I think that's got to be got to be the most obvious controlling mechanism on the planet is money. I think more so than the media, more so than law, because we don't watch television 24 hours a day. We're not being told what to do by policemen, but all the time we're thinking about money because you have to go to work, do a job you don't like, just to get the money. And that's so money is a big controlling aspect, I believe. And I'm sure you'd agree, or partially. But it's interesting that these people who, and we don't really know who they are, because I think they started in Babylon, didn't they? And then they moved to Rome, and it's now they've set up home pretty well in the city of London, haven't they? Why is it they chose this particular spot on the planet when they could be anywhere on the planet? Well, they are all over the planet. But why choose the city of London for their banking setup? Any ideas there?
Yeah, look, Rome has sort of founded her corporations. When they founded London, that was pretty much the same time they did Paris. They
Yeah.
annexed these countries. It became the Roman Empire, and then we were led to believe that empire fell with the invasion of the Huns and the northern people, but the corporations still stayed intact. You
Right.
see, doing business, and basically the big mother of all corporations um, is the Church of Saint Peter. You see,
Yeah.
Rome is still
Yeah.
collecting Peter's pence.
Yeah.
And when you understand who Peter really is, there was never an apostle Peter, literally.
Yeah.
Peter derives from Jupiter. And Jupiter has always been the chief god of the Romans, just like Zeus is the chief god of the Grecians. You see,
Right.
Jupiter,
Yeah.
Zeus. Now, when you merge those two names together, Zeus and Jupiter, you get Zeus, Jesus.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Jesus slash Peter, because Jesus says to Peter, on this rock mass I will build my church. Basically, what it's just saying is that Zeus has been ruling in the last 2,000 years because
Yeah,
Zeus,
yeah.
or Jupiter, is the ruler of Pisces.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so if taxes are going to be collected in the Roman Empire, they're
Yeah.
going to be collected for Jupiter. That's why we still pay Peter's pence, and we have expressions like rob Peter to pay Paul,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hidden in
So
plain sight. Yeah. Yeah.
that's right. It's a spiritual thing that they've merged with literalism, and they've confused the masses. But rest assured, the IRS and all of these tax agencies and everything, collecting agencies, they are all collecting taxes for the mother of all third-party debt collectors, which is the literal Jesus, who never came and never will return, because the Christ is within.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so they've made these fictions. So then, of course, you had the Holy Roman Empire, and that started with the Pippins or the Carolingians in the late 700s, early 800s.
Right.
That lasted for 1,000 years, and Napoleon, hit that on the head. And then, of course, along comes Hitler, who was very in league with the Vatican and signed a concordant with Pope Cardinal Pacelli at the time, who became Pope Pius. I think it was
and had strong links to the royal British royal family as well. Yeah.
Yes, and supposedly he was like a Rothschild, a descendant of the Rothschild.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, he tried to create the Third Reich, or the Third Kingdom of Rome. So the Huns destroyed the first Roman Empire, supposedly. Then there was the 1,000-year reign of the Holy Roman Empire. Right. And it's always Germany and Italy somehow, It's always this Germanic-Italian thing.
Yeah.
And what happened with the Axis Third World War, it was an Italian-German thing. But prior to this, those German families, who are basically, black nobility families, they went to Rome as the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha Guelph families,
Right. Yeah.
changed their name to Windsor,
Yeah.
and sit on the throne of London and call themselves the Windsors.
Yeah.
But history tells you that they are Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, Guelphs, and all of that black nobility stuff from Venice and Rome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all the same big mafia family. They've got the money, they've got the metals, and until such time as fiat currency and all this metal-based currency, which is also an artificial contrivance which pulls us away from natural currency, which is love.
Yes. Yeah. And that'll strike a big chord here. With my viewers that'll be watching the video, because we realise how it's almost like it's for people who've woken up and looking for remedy to for this situation we're in. and it all fits in together perfectly. Now we're in 2012, and I think it's so far it's been an amazing year. It's just like I feel things are really shifting, and I'm sure you're feeling that as well.
Oh yeah.
How's this year special for you?
It is absolutely just mind-boggling how our conscious perspective is just changing by the minute. By the minute.
Yeah.
Now, what is happening is our inner world is improving and growing in glory by the day as we understand who we are and we make steps closer towards sovereignty and dominion. And we can see all these movements rising up where people are starting to realize their own power, and they want to express their own power. But on the other hand, you look out there and the world seems to be deteriorating, and there's this big gap between the beautiful transformation that's occurring within and the loss of transformation that is occurring without. It appears that on the secular scene things are getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah, it certainly does.
You know, and the gap. Yeah. There's more surveillance, more security. Just today, the Australian government announced that they're so proud of the fact that we're going to have body scanners in our international airports because we don't want another 9/11, you know. We want to avoid that, and this is a good preventative measure. Of course, you can opt out of going through the scanners, but they're there for the money makers who are making money from security, because Rome can only provide two services, and she always has. She's never done anything but provide two services: terrorism and security.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the mafia.
Yeah.
The mafia comes knocking on your door and tells you they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
But if you give them some money, they'll protect you on the other hand.
Yeah.
What a great deal. It works for them.
Certainly. And why change it? It's
Julius Caesar used to run fire departments. His family used to run fire departments in Rome. Yeah. And if you didn't pay your little taxes to that fire department, your neighbourhood burnt down.
Yeah.
That's who Julius Caesar is. And then JC. I've got books here all over the place that expose the fact that JC is actually the first God on earth that became Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The Jesus Christ myth goes way back to the original JC, Julius Caesar.
Yes.